Hey guys, it's Pierre here, and right now with episode number 78. So the question is, why should I tithe? I can't even afford to get groceries. I can't even afford to pay my bills, man. Why should I even try to tithe? I don't know if I really believe that system, Pierre. So, I told a story in a few episodes prior, and it's a friend of mine that was in the military, and he went to a church with his wife, and eventually as he was attending that church, he's like, man, I got a tithe? What? Are you serious? He went to the pastor and started talking to the pastor. He explained to the pastor all the reasons why he could not tithe. And the pastor listened, watched, and eventually when he was done giving his reasons, the pastor said to him, brother, you can afford not to tithe. And he said, you know what? The pastor just didn't hear anything I said. He said, but I walked away and I decided, let me give it a try. And of course, he proved what Malachi chapter 3:10 talks about. Prove me in this, if I will not open the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing that cannot be measured. But again, people still think it's just the tithe that you have to do. The tithe actually opens the windows, yes. And the rain comes down, but the rain has to find something, right? So I think number one, there's a few things I want to say about why tithing. Number one, it's a step of obedience. Meaning, in Isaiah, the Lord says, if you are willing and obedient, you shall eat the good of the land. So it's really a step of obedience, being obedient to a system God put in place. And when you test it for yourself, you're going to see that it works. And seriously, the willingness of your heart, understanding that, number one, you're being a blessing to wherever you're tithing. The church where you get fed on a regular basis, it's great that you tithe there. That's important. And then secondarily, it's a promise. God promised he would bless you for blessing his kingdom, for putting your, what belongs to you, your finances, basically, to support his kingdom. Now, let's be real. The reality of it is that it takes money for all those ministries to be on television. And you can say, I didn't send them, Pierre. Good for them. No, I know you didn't send them, but guess what? They're doing a work to reaching out to folks that don't know about this great kingdom. It takes money to pay for satellite time. It takes money. Here I am on YouTube. For me, it's costing me time and the time I've invested in learning to share a lot of that with you that's watching out there. But for these other ministries, whether they're on YouTube, Instagram, or social media, that's just the latest place they've come. They've spent a ton of millions of dollars being on television so that they can reach people, because they have a great commission, just like you and I. We have a ministry of reconciliation to bring people back to the Lord, because he's paid for their freedom with his precious blood. That's the whole point. So tithing has a lot to do with not just obedience and willingness, but also this whole thing of honoring the Lord. Proverbs 3:5, I spoke about it in the last episode. You're honoring God by giving into his kingdom. And here's the last one. And this one takes faith. You're trusting him, because he said, if you do it, I will bless you. He said it. I didn't. Look in the book. He made us a dare. I dare you to do this. I double dog dare you to do it. And I will show you that when you do it, I'll bless you. And, I had a fun conversation, a good conversation with one of my friends and brothers in the church today, just sharing with me, look, man, I learned this from my father and I've done it. And I tell you what, it's made me a better steward of my money. So there's also another opportunity for you to be a good steward. If you cannot live on the 100, and you're saying, I can't afford to, the fact is there might be a lack of order in your finances. Things like, in the episode I spoke about avoiding debt, right? Things like you may need to at least understand, if you're willing to give the 10, maybe you have to cut your expenses, right? Maybe you're living above your means. And so maybe you're living paycheck to paycheck. So there's definitely different reasons, and there's no condemnation. But the fact is, this is an opportunity for you to recognize you have to literally make a decision, and it's a step of faith. And so a lot of times we don't necessarily want to take that step of faith. And so guess what? We will not get the results. We will not get what the word promises. And this is the power of the word. If the word promises it, he says, wealth and riches will be in your house. This is in Psalm 112. And he says, to the one who gives, his righteousness endures forever. So seriously, I'm inviting you to take a step of faith. in doing this. Find a ministry, a church, a place that you trust, a place where you're learning the word on a consistent basis, and go ahead. If you're sitting there and you're learning consistently there, you should be sending your tithe to that place. And no, I'm not inviting you to send me any money, not at this juncture anyway. What I'm sharing with you is a principle that's going to bless you. But your part is absolutely find a ministry that you want to send that tithe to, or if it's a local church where you're already a member, there you should give your tithe because you're being a blessing to that house, but God is watching and he will bless you in return. So I hope this has helped you to understand the power behind the tithe, the promise that God has made, and more importantly, the step of faith it takes for you to believe and receive the blessing that comes from it. It's Pierre Laguerre. Of course, if you're on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe for more of these types of videos, and I'll see you on the next one. Enjoy.